Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is. Raiders versus the world. Talking about a team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. All right, so training camp is starting up probably in another, 10 days or so, something like that. And it starts on July 17th for all the rookies, and I believe it's the 22nd for the entire squad. So I want to take a look at some of the position groups going into the season, see where we are, where we need to improve maybe, where we have improved from a few seasons ago, and just go through that. Now, we're going to start with the quarterback position. It's obviously the most important position on the team, and we did have an upgrade from last season. Now, we take a look at a couple things here. We need to stabilize, okay? Pete Carroll and John Spytek didn't necessarily come into the season and we're like, we need to get a big splash and we need to get superstars and all of this stuff at the quarterback position. They really wanted to just stabilize the position. Take a look at some of the names we had in the past. Jarrett Stidham, Aiden ONeill, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brian Hoyer, Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder. Like the past couple of years have been a freaking mess, okay? And it's just we needed to right the ship a little bit. There's been some rough waters, right, with a lot of turmoil, and with those rough waters normally comes a lot of turnover on rosters. So that was the main thing that Pete Carroll and John Spytek wanted to do, is bring some stability to the most important position. Enter Gino Smith. We're going to talk about Gino Smith and the rest of the quarterbacks on the roster, but before we do, I want to make sure everyone please like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's an excellent way to support the channel. It's absolutely free to do. And it's the bare minimum. You can do support the channel besides doing absolutely nothing and just watching the video. On top of that, guys, go ahead and hit the notification button and share your socials if you don't mind. Okay, let's get to it. So the big thing we talked about previously, bring some stability. Now, when your quarterback position is stable, normally the rest of your franchise is stable. If you have a good quarterback, that means you're winning games. If you're winning games, you don't need to lose a lot of coaches and let a lot of players walk. You want to keep this core together to work with the quarterback. We haven't had a quarterback play consistently well in quite some time. Derek Carr was probably the closest thing to that. It was really up and down, but he was probably the best thing we've had for 20 years. Okay. Enter Gino Smith. Gino Smith, I believe, compares very favorably to Derek Carr in a lot of respects. Where I think Gino Smith is a little bit more advanced than Derek Carr. He has a little bit better arm talent, and he's more mobile. I think they're both good leaders in different ways, okay? And I do think that they both have respect of their teammates and coaches in a little bit different ways. So I wish Derek Carr happy retirement and, wish everything goes well for you in the future. But we're talking about the Raiders right now. And I do think that Gino Smith, even being 34 years old, is an excellent candidate to bring us back to where we want to be consistently as a winning franchise. So all this muckling around, right? We had all these, who's going to be the quarterback? Are we going to draft one? Are we going to draft one at 6? Are we going to draft Shador? What are we going to do? And we ended up trading for Gino Smith for a third-round pick. Basically, we got rid of Devontae Adams and we got in Gino Smith, which is, I think it's a good deal for us. One of the things that we wanted to do initially is we wanted to extend Gino Smith. Well, Gino Smith took a little bit of time to do the extension. We did the extension. It's not a lock 3-year extension or even a 2-year extension. It could just be a 1, and then we can get out of it pretty cheaply after that. So there is an incentive for Gino Smith to really ball out this first year to really solidify his spot on the roster and not have to be a lot of turnover again at the quarterback position. Okay. One of the things we have to focus on with Gino Smith, okay? Gino Smith he's got pinpoint accuracy. He is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. That can work against him as well. We all know this. A lot of times, okay, our strengths can also be a contributor to a weakness of ours. Gino Smith, on top of being one of the most accurate passers in the NFL, throws probably one of the prettier deep balls in the NFL as well. But he is at the top of the league in quarterbacks at turnover-worthy plays. What does that necessarily mean? It really doesn't mean a lot, okay? Because, stats have shown that it's not all about turnover-worthy plays because Josh Allen puts a lot of turnovers. Patrick Mahomes has a lot of turnover-worthy plays. A lot of these top quarterbacks have a lot of turnover-worthy plays. The biggest thing is, how do you perform as a quarterback when it matters most? How are you on third downs? How are you in the red zone? Things like that. So you can have turnovers. That's not a big deal, or turnover-worthy plays, not a huge deal, as long as you perform the other times that you're on the field by converting third downs and converting in the red zone. If you can do that, that's not a problem. So even though it's not ideal to have a quarterback that is so confident in their arm that they put the ball in danger a lot, you gotta risk it to get the biscuit sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And that's usually what Gino Smith does, is he does put the ball a little bit in danger, but twofold. He's very accurate with the football, so he kind of knows what he's doing with the ball, where he puts the ball where it can maybe be tipped and knocked away, but not necessarily intercepted, as long as the wide receiver does their job. In turn, he does have a lot of confidence in his wide receivers to be able to put the ball there. And, he was with the same group of receivers for a few years with Seattle, so he kind of knew where to put the ball and what they could handle and what they couldn't. So, yeah, his turnover-worthy plays are a little bit high, but you know what? That's not a huge deal, all right? Gino Smith is the unquestioned starter right now. Now, we do talk about a lot of Pete Carroll being a competition guy, and he is. But you have to take a look at this. If anyone in Raider Nation looks at our quarterback situation with any type of objectivity, it is no doubt that Gino Smith is the best, most talented quarterback on the roster and should be the starter unquestioned from day one, which he is. On top of that, his leadership skills and the fact that he's a better fit for the offense than some of the other quarterbacks on the roster, and also he's taken on a lot of challenges in his life and he's overcome a lot of that stuff. He's the starter, not really a big deal. If something happens where he doesn't play well, I really don't see him not being the starter to start the season. If he gets injured, God forbid, there could be an issue there going forward, because the next guy in line is Aiden ONeill, who doesn't really fit Chip Kelly's offense very well. All right, Aiden ONeill. So Aiden ONeill, third season, right? He was a 4th-round pick. Dude blew a lot of people's socks off in preseason his rookie year. He gets into the regular season, and he's a little bit up and down that first season. Does pretty well to end the season, but a lot of his numbers were overinflated because of that Charger game where he threw 4 touchdowns when the Chargers weren't really even playing that well, and they weren't really even playing hardly at all. I'm not going to disparage Aiden ONeill for going out there and playing the game hard. It doesn't matter what the opposition does. If you go out and play the game hard, you deserve all the stats you get. I get that. No problem with me. One of the things you have to look at here is he's only gotten the job because the starter who beat him out in camp was just so god-awful. One of the worst. Jimmy Garoppolo in that 2023 season was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when Aiden ONeill took over. Again, in 2024, Gardner Minshew was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when Aiden ONeill took over. He just wasn't able to grasp that job with both hands and really solidify his part of being, being the leader and being the true starter at quarterback. He's pretty inconsistent. He's not as accurate in the pros as he was in college. It hasn't really gotten much better. He has gotten a lot of different coaching, and I think it's like 5 different offensive coordinators or something like that, something wild like that. And that sucks. It's a tough situation for Aiden ONeill. But take a look, just wipe all that away and just take a look at their tools. He's just not as physically gifted as Gino Smith. Plus, Gino Smith has a lot more experience playing in the NFL against NFL defenses and has a lot more success playing against NFL defenses. So I think Aiden ONeill is kind of like the de facto backup. He's a good backup, but in Chip Kelly's system, it's pretty tough to be a backup if you can't run the ball. And unfortunately, Aiden ONeill just is not. He's just, he's very stationary, and he loses a ton of his accuracy when he starts to move around, and that's a really big problem. He's a timing guy. He likes to deliver the ball on time and rhythm, and that's who he is. When you disrupt that rhythm is when you really disrupt his completion percentage, and he gets wild and starts to turn the ball over more. He gets sacked. He gets hurt. Big thing with Aiden ONeill is learn the offense, do the offense what you can with it. Are you going to be able to run all the RPOs and all this boots and all this stuff? He's not going to do all that stuff because he can't. He's just not good at it. He's shown that he's just, we saw a couple of those throws where he had to roll out and he threw the ball like 10 yards short because he just can't throw the ball on the run. I remember a couple of passes, one to Jacoby Myers, the other one to Trey Tucker, where they were on a little bit of a comeback, right? And the ball was short like 5, 6, 7 yards, and it's like he just can't throw the ball on the run. And you're going to be on the move. The pocket's going to be on the move with Chip Kelly. It just is. Everywhere he's gone, he's changed his offense a little bit, but the pocket does need to be moved for his offense to be successful and be able to use all the tools in a Chip Kelly offense. So unfortunately, I don't think that Aiden O'Connell is equipped physically to really take advantage of Chip Kelly's kind of mastermind offensive coordinator. I think his role is the front runner to be the backup. I don't see a situation where he's not the backup. It would take one hell of a preseason and training camp by Cam Miller to be able to do that. I don't see Carter Bradley doing it, but if he does get beat out for the backup role, it's going to be by Cam Miller. And that's a huge jump going from the FCS to the NFL and unseating a guy who's been there and who's a loved guy, a smart guy, a guy who can run an offense for you like an Aiden O'Connell. Speaking of Cam Miller, he's up next. Now, Cam Miller, a little bit of a surprise, I think, to most. To some, there was a lot of grumblings that, the Raiders did like Cam Miller. They liked his moxie. They liked his skill set. He does fit, almost to the T, what Chip Kelly looks for in a quarterback for his offense. He wants the guy who's going to be able to move the ball with his legs and also with his arm down the field. And Cam Miller can do that. He's also really good at the short. The intermediate is a little bit dicey, but the short game is good. The long game is good. He's good on the run. He can throw the ball accurately deep on the run. He can get big chunk yardage with his legs. He's very competitive. He's very fiery. He's a winner. He knows how to win these games. He's not going to get caught out of position with situational football late in games. He's very smart. He's very well coached. That's a very big deal for him. The issue we're going to see with Cam Miller is the fact that he hasn't seen these NFL defenses the way that he's going to see them during the regular season, let alone in preseason. Preseason is going to be very vanilla, right? You're going to get a lot of guys out there who are going to be more special teams. You're going to see a lot of guys out there in preseason who are going to be special teams guys. But you're trying to make the roster and stuff like that. So when Cam Miller plays, he's not going to play against starters. When you play against starters, it's a whole different ballgame. You're talking about the best of the best that are starters in the NFL, and Cam Miller coming from FCS to the NFL, it's a big jump, okay? Now, he does have a lot of good traits that you can build off of. I just don't see him cracking the roster in a backup role. I see him being a number 3 emergency type, and I think he's a lot better fit to do that. And it would behoove the Raiders to put him in that role so they can keep him on the roster rather than try to get him on the practice squad where he can be plucked by anybody else in the league. All right, last one up is Carter Bradley. Carter Bradley, we didn't really see much of him. We saw him in the preseason. We didn't see much of him during the season at all. What does he bring to the table? He's kind of like the Aiden O'Connell to Gino Smith. He doesn't have what Cam Miller does. He doesn't have the mobility. He doesn't have the playmaking ability in his arm. He doesn't have the pedigree of winning a lot of games in college. He doesn't have that fire. He's not that kind of like, he just doesn't have what Cam Miller has physically. Is he going to be a productive member of the team? Yeah, he's probably going to stay on the practice squad. If he's on the practice squad, he's going to be a productive member of this team and help the practice squad go against the first team defenses. If he's on the practice squad, he's going to help the team out a lot, giving the defense a good look, and he can do that. And let's not understate that, because everybody on this team who's on the roster, practice squad or not, is a guy who's helping the team win games. So I do believe Carter Bradley is not a guy that's really coveted around the league. He was pretty underwhelming in the preseason, so let's not really kind of blow up anything that he did on the field. His biggest asset is going to be on the practice squad, and I really do think it's going to be a great addition to the practice squad this season. I don't think it's going to be the number 3 emergency quarterback. I just don't see that for him. All right, the way I see it is QB1, Gino Smith, QB2, Aiden O'Connell, QB3 / emergency quarterback is Cam Miller, and the practice squad quarterback is going to be Carter Bradley. Bottom line, Gino Smith is the clear starter. Okay, that's what goes without saying. The stability, leadership, the trust that Pete Carroll has in him. Look, Chip Kelly trusts Pete Carroll, and if Pete Carroll trusts Gino Smith, that means that Chip Kelly is going to start out having a lot of trust in Gino Smith. It's just the way it works. Okay, Gino Smith is going to stop that revolving door at quarterback. He's going to solidify the position. He's going to steady the waters. and he's going to be a guy who's going to be able to steer the ship in a specific direction that the entire team can get behind. Aiden ONeill is going to be that solid backup who's going to come in, mop up duty, maybe a play or a drive here and there, maybe even a spot start if it needs to be. But I don't see him playing a lot. Gino Smith is pretty durable, and I do think that this offense is going to give Gino Smith the ability to get the ball out of his hands fairly quickly, so the sack's going to be brought to a minimum, hopefully. He's been sacked a lot the last couple of years with that offensive line with Seattle. There's high hopes with Cam Miller. We don't know what's going to happen moving forward. If Cam Miller shows out and he shows a guy that can have a lot of potential, the Raiders may punt on drafting their quarterback in the 2026 draft. If Cam Miller shows that he's a little bit further away than we might think, then the Raiders might take a stab at a guy in the 2026 draft at quarterback. Who knows? But for right now, Gino Smith is the guy. He's leading the ship, and he's the guy that's going to carry the offense to new heights in 2026 for your Las Vegas Raiders. All right, guys, that's my time for today. Really appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's an excellent way to support the channel. It's absolutely free to do, and it's the bare minimum you can do to support the channel besides doing absolutely nothing and just watching the video. All right, guys, jump on board, man. We're headed steaming towards the training camp and the preseason. Next thing you know, it's going to be the season. Before you know it, I'm going to try my best to get something out to you guys every single day. Trust me, it is not easy, okay? I got a job. I got a second job. I got a chick. I got this podcast. I got another podcast. I got 2 cats. Oh, man, I got a lot of stuff going on in my life. But I committed myself to try to make a fresh, organic, new content for you guys every single day, and I hope you guys appreciate it. All right, guys, so I need you guys to help me out and spread the word about Raiders versus the world. I'm doing my part, making the content. You guys do your part and spread the word for me, okay? So please, everyone, tell your friends, tell your haters, tell your mamas, tell everybody. Raiders versus the world's greatest and going Raider Nation today. All right, guys, that's my time. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.